Yeah, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has created a new ministry, the Ministry of Livestock Development. That's what we are going to be looking at tonight. We're going to be analyzing the effect and possible impact of that ministry and the likely possibility of that particular ministry to bring peace as regards the farmer elders clashes or to create more chaos. Well, I remain my humble self, Dr. Moshola Deji, a political scientist and public affairs analyst. Now, if you are in this page right now, if you are watching me, definitely you are not here by mistake, should I say it, by divine appointment. So here on Politics with Moshola Deji, we learn from each other. So as I'm speaking, you are learning from me. So I too would like to learn from you in the comment section. So when you drop your comments, then I too will read your comment, and if there's any question, I would answer your questions. So don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, and invite people to this page. So now the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, decide to create the Ministry of Livestock Development. Now, this ministry, is it really necessary? You would recall that the president have always said, oh, let's manage. We need to manage. Nigeria doesn't have money. And in his speech, the famous word there most times is always, I feel your pain. These things won't last for a while. Samai Lawal, I can see your like, thanks for likings. Try and share, let other people watch, and let's just have fun together. Let's learn together. I don't want this video to be more than 20 minutes. Hopefully I'm able to keep it at that, so I won't take much of your time. So let's just proceed. Now, this Ministry of Livestock Development, at a time when the president is always saying, let us manage, I feel your pain, and more ministries are being created. Yeah, Manat is fine. Samaila Lawal, yeah, thanks. We keep the good work here. So, when the president says that we should manage, but at the same time, the body language of those in government have not been that of management. And looking at it, a new ministry. Don't forget that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has the highest number of ministers. He appointed 45. And the constitution says each state must be represented in the cabinet. That means each state must have a minister, although there are about 28 ministries in Nigeria. And we have 36 states with the Federal Capital Territory. So that means that each state will have one minister, but the number of ministries is insufficient. So there's this nomenclature that they have, which is, Minister of State for example, we have Minister of Health, then we have Minister of State for Health. So that's like a kind of like two ministers in one ministry. I think we also have that for labor and employment or productivity. So now that the president has decided to create a ministry, that this ministry is what we call the farmer elders clashes. Is that really possible? Can it really curb the farmer elders clashes? Well, to my mind, I think what can curb the farmer elders clashes principally is when the elders can be able to tame what I can simply call greed. In the sense that, you see, what cattle means to you as an header is what land means to the farmer. What am I trying to say? Your own ancestral occupation, the occupation that your ancestors have been doing all along is cattle rearing. That's fine, that's okay. But the farmers as well, farming is also an ancestral occupation in some part of Nigeria. For instance, in the Niger Delta region, they are basically farmers and fishermen. In the southwest, some of all these our southwest villages, most of the people there are farmers. So because people there are farmers and their fathers and forefathers have been practicing this occupation, so what the cattle rearing means to you is what farming means to them. So in that kind of instance, if you now want to feed your cattle, but before I go into that, let me just establish some things. Now, government, according to Bentham and Mills, says that government exists to seek the satisfaction of the majority of people. That's what government is for. That means that all of us cannot have the same wish, but if we are 100 and 70 people have like the same wish, government has to follow the majority. But the thing is, are these elders in the majority? And how important is cattle or livestock? How important is it? Well, cattle and livestock is very, very important, because from the cattle you generate milk. You know, if there's no livestock, no rearing of cow, ram, goat, you know, you won't have all this your suya, you won't have all this your meat, which is a good source of protein. So we can say that cattle rearing is very important. But we have people that are vegetarians. Do you know that vegetarians are people that they don't eat meat, they don't eat chicken, they don't eat anything beef? They survive on vegetables. So if we have vegetarians that survive on vegetables, that means that human beings can do without meat, beef, or chicken, because those vegetarians are human beings and they are surviving without eating beef, meat, or chicken. So that means that man can survive with crops, vegetables, plantation, but man can survive without beef, without meat, but man cannot survive without vegetables. So I'm looking at the importance of, because government is trying to use this to resolve the farmer-herders clashes. So let us look at which one is more important. Having laid the foundation of Bentham and Mills, that government exists to satisfy the wish of the majority. So we now have to look at it that, okay, which one is important and which class falls into the majority? Is it the farmers or the herders, to start with? So I now have laid the foundation that the herders, as they are very important, because some of us like milk, beef, you know, and all that. But if there is no beef at all, can human beings survive? Let's assuming that, you know, there's no meat. Can we survive? Yes, human beings can survive, because we have vegetarians. Vegetarians are people that don't eat, you know, fish, that don't eat, you know, anything animal. They just eat vegetables. They eat carbohydrates, but they don't eat anything that has, I can say anything that has blood. they don't eat it. So if they don't eat anything that has blood and they are surviving, that means that human being can survive without meat. That means that human beings can survive without having to eat cow or anything. So looking at that, we can say, okay, the others are more important. Then let us look at this. Can plants grow? Plants, can they grow without animals? And can animals survive without plants? That's another way to look at the importance. Which one is more important between farmers and herders? Now, don't forget, we are looking at the importance of the Ministry of Livestock Development created by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And that's why I said, just sit back, let's learn from each other. Now, can plants grow without animals? Yes, because when you have a fertile land, some of us in our villages, when we go to our village and we just plant anything in our village, maybe one seed of, orange just drop on the floor. If you are not careful, it will start germinating. And you don't need animal excreta. You don't need animal excreta at all for it to grow and become a giant tree. So that means that plants can grow without animals. Plants doesn't need animals to grow. But on the other hand, looking at which one is more important between crop plantation and livestock, can animals grow without plants? The answer is no. Because what will they eat? If animals cannot grow without plants, then that means that animals are not more important than plants, because they need plants to survive. I hope you are getting the arithmetic. Plants can grow on a fertile soil without the input of animals. But animals cannot grow or survive without the input of plants, because they have to eat plantations to grow. And it is because of that plantation that they have to eat, that is why some of these herders, why they are bringing their cattle from the north, passing through the bushes, and the cattle are hungry and tired, they decide to go into some people's farm and decide to eat what they can find on the farm, especially cassava, maize, and all these things. If they don't have anything to eat, they are going to die. So what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is, if plants can survive without animals, are you not supposed to place priority on farming, crop production? If human beings, as earlier asserted, can survive as a vegetarian by not eating animals, what does that mean? Does it not mean that government is supposed to focus more on crop plantation? So by this little analysis, I've been able to show that crop plantation is more important than livestock. But government has decided to create a ministry for livestock, away from the Ministry of Agriculture. Don't forget that while you are in secondary school, while I was in secondary school, agriculture is basically of two components: crop production and livestock rearing. So rearing animals is also part of agriculture. It's part of agriculture. So if rearing animals is part of agriculture, why do you need to create a separate ministry? A separate ministry. Why do the government now need to create a separate ministry for livestock development? When there is already a Ministry of Agriculture, when Nigeria does not have enough resources at hand, when the economy is in shambles, when the people are in pain, when you are telling people to manage, and you are still going ahead to create a Ministry of Livestock, and the Ministry of Livestock that you created, you are going to have employees, they're going to have their own building, they're going to have their own technologies, they're going to have their own infrastructures, cars and everything, which is extra expenses on the Nigerian government itself. So rather than reduce cost, government is increasing cost and telling the citizens to manage, whereas they are increasing cost on their own side rather than reducing cost. And most importantly, like I said, why would a government decide to create a special ministry for livestock when human beings can survive without animals? Vegetarians are surviving. Vegetarians are surviving. And which one is more important between crop and livestock? Like I said, plant can grow alone. When you throw seed on the floor, on a fertilizer, it will grow without the input of animals. But animals cannot survive without the input of plants because they have to eat. So if you now decide as a government to create a separate ministry for livestock, then you can be rest assured that you are not doing things so much in the right direction. What I see is government trying to be political to suit the interest of the elders and to just come up with something that, okay, they can say, oh, you know, we are by your side. Maybe they owe the herdsmen a debt of gratitude. And special thanks to Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje, the chairman of APC, who in his wisdom, you know, set up the conference that eventually bited the creation of the ministry. And you know, he's one of the right-hand man of the president. But I strongly believe that this creation of ministry will not solve the problem of farmer elders clashes. What can solve it, that problem, is lack of greed. Cattle rearing is important to you. Farming is important to another person. Don't invade people's farm just because you want to feed. And that's why on the part of government is saying, oh, let's create ranching. But with whose land? Will the ranching be only in the north? Will the Biafra agitators in the southeast agree that government should use some of their land for ranching when they've read about how some of these people engage in, you know, what they call jihad, and at the end of the day they try to kind of like take over land, like the case of Ilorin, which happens to be a Yoruba land and now is categorized as the land of the north based on the jihad of Uthman Dan Fodio. So what I think is only lack of greed. And don't forget, farmers and elders have always lived peacefully anyway. They've always lived together peacefully without any form of rancor or quarrel or issues. So why now that this conflict seems to be unending? It shouldn't be. So I don't think this government action is really in the right direction. No. What government could have done is to create a ministry, and that Ministry of Livestock Development should have been a Department of Livestock Development under Ministry of Agriculture. You know, different ministries have different departments. For example, in Ministry of Interior, we have different departments that take care of all these immigration, passport, all those things. So it could have been a ministry on a department rather under the Ministry of Agriculture. That would have made more sense rather than create a ministry for livestock. So now, will you now change? See, if agriculture is about livestock production and crop production, and you have created a Ministry of Livestock Development, will you now change the name of the Ministry of Agriculture into the Ministry of Crop Production? Is that what is going to happen? So the duplication to me is not necessary. And it's something that at the end of the day can bring chaos rather than solution. If government is not careful, it can eventually lead to more chaos. Because what if other people are not asking for ministries? Ministry for the disabled. The disabled are Nigerians too. If they say they want a separate ministry to cater for their welfare, no, the creation of ministry shouldn't be at a time when Nigerians are suffering, when the economy is down, because it takes a lot to create a ministry. It takes a whole lot. And if you look at it, the composition of the people that eventually, push for this ministry are from the Hausa Fulani ethnic stock, which are cattle rearers. So I just hope that when this ministry takes off, the Ministry of Livestock Development will not just be about cow. Will not just be about cow. No. I hope it will be about goat rearing too. Chicken rearing. It won't just be about rearing of cows and, a particular ethnic group will just monopolize the ministry. I hope that won't be the case. That we have other people that government will also listen to their voice, listen to their plight. For example, it's a federal ministry. If there is one Chukwuemeka in Enugu that is good at rearing goat, if there is one, Effiong in Akwa Ibom that is good at rearing dog for this their dog meat pepper soup and all that, I hope that their interests will be protected in the new ministry created by the president. And it won't just be that only elders' interests will be protected in the ministry, because livestock development, according to the name of the ministry, is not all about cattle rearing. It's not all about cattle rearing. There are other livestock animals too that people are trading in, and the people trading in it, rearing it, their interest too also need to be protected. So I think that it should have been a department under the Ministry of Agriculture. We don't need a Ministry of Livestock Development at this time. What we need is a Department of Livestock Development under the Ministry of Agriculture. That's what I think we need. Because looking at the cost implication, you have to hire new workers. You have to train them. You have to get office space or build office structure befitting of a federal ministry. You have to set it up, electricals, technologies, computers. You have to buy cars. Is, so it's easy to just say, I set up a ministry. But if you look at the financial implications, the financial implication is a very serious one on the government. So, it has serious financial implications. So I don't see any reason why government will want to go and create a special ministry at this point in time. But what we can learn from this is that keep pushing. Keep making your voice heard. That's one thing you can't take away from elders in Nigeria. They are die-hard pushers. They push very hard. Look at under Buhari government. They were pushing for this water resources bill, something like that. They don't give up. So what we can learn from this creation of new ministries is people in other occupations, people who have other agitations as well, people who want their interests protected should also not give up. Because if we can have a Ministry of Livestock Development when already there is a Ministry of Agriculture, and agriculture is about livestock rearing and crop production, and now we have Ministry of Agriculture, we have Ministry of Livestock Development, and I'm looking forward to government, now that they have split it, to change the name of the Ministry of Agriculture into Ministry of Crop Production, because livestock development, livestock rearing have been separated. And that's why I keep saying that it should have been made a Department of Livestock Development under Ministry of Agriculture. But because these people, the elders, they push very hard. They don't give up. They protect their interests. They push for their interests. Look at the way they did under the Buhari administration. And now, Ganduje, who by virtue of his ethnic clan, because most of the Hausa Fulanis are, predominantly elders, he has used his position as APC chairman, right-hand man of the president, to convey a conference, push his way through to the president, to convince the president, let's create a ministry, and now the president has created it. What that means is that you, from other ethnic groups that are close to the president, what are you pushing? Let us give kudos to Ganduje. You won't expect Ganduje to leave the interest of his own ethnic group, to leave the interest of his own ancestral occupation, and come and be protecting your own interest. No. He will push for his people. And now, they have achieved something. So, you people from other ethnic groups, what have you been pushing for your people? So, before you criticize the creation of that ministry as a government official, or maybe from any other ethnic group, people from the Yoruba ethnic group, Igbo, Calabar, Ijo, Ishekiri, in the Tinubu government, what are you pushing for your people? Because even the Bible says, ask and you shall receive. If you have not asked, what will you receive? Lately, the Southeast leaders have been pushing for the release of Nnamdi Kanu, which is not a bad thing, if that is what is most important to them at this point in time. But Ganduje has been arranging himself for the creation of Ministry of Livestock to protect his own ancestral occupation. So kudos to the man. And the reason why the creation of this ministry is not generating so much agitation is because it is strategic. If it was created under Buhari administration, the administration that people had been saying that, oh, it is too ethnic, that, oh, Buhari is an ethnic man, he's a sectional man, he only likes to appoint his people, he's trying to favor his people. If this ministry were created under the Buhari government, people would have cried to the high heavens Maybe there have been series of protests now. But you know what? People that are pushing for this thing strategically waited till Buhari leaves there. Another ethnic group, a Yoruba man, is in power. They will now push, convince, pressurize, cajole the Yoruba man to give them that ministry. And because the president is not from their ethnic clan, it won't be greeted with much criticisms and public outcry. But if it were to be under the Buhari regime, there would have been serious problem. People would have given Buhari serious problem. Just as people resisted the water resources bill and every attempt to even create all these, ranching and all that in other states. You can see that people were coming out to say, no, we don't have a land for elders here. And I said it at that point in time that the over-ethnicity of Buhari itself is a dangerous thing to the Hausa Fulani ethnic group. Because why? People were comfortable with them before. It only favors the elite. It only favored the elite. People were comfortable with them before. But when bandits evolve, terrorism evolve, and government is not going all out to weed them out, and you are appointing all your people in important positions, other ethnic groups that are helping the poor Hausa Fulani as gateman, as shoe shiners, they are now running away from them. So your over ethnicity has only favored the elite, but has created a misadventure for the poor Hausa Fulani man who is doing Sobata, who is doing Megad. So that's why it is always good to be fair when you are in power. One major thing is, I just hope that the creation of this ministry that was, that just created, I just hope it will not become an ethnic thing. The leadership of this ministry. What do I mean by that? If the elders are able to monopolize this ministry, if they are the only one if their occupation is the only one, or the animal of interest, which is cow, dominates that new ministry, the problem is that it will only be people from the Hausa Fulani ethnic clan that will most likely be appointed as ministers in that ministry. Because if the ministry is all about cow, we'll go and bring an Igbo man that doesn't know about cow and come and make him a minister of livestock development in a ministry dominated by cow issues. It won't work. Because the Mieti Allah and Co will resist it, failing to realize that this is a federal ministry. So, if the ministry is to subsist, government has to make sure that the interest of other ethnic groups, the interest of other livestock rearers, cows, goats, sheep, any kind of livestock, dog, is protected by that ministry. Because it will be a disaster if that ministry is monopolized by. Then in all of this, what is the president saying about protecting the interest of the farmers? So people that are from farming areas, the Niger Delta, the Southwest, what are they pushing in Nassau Rock so that the interest of farmers can also be protected? What are they pushing for? Because in all of this, nothing much is being said about the protection of farmers. Even when the president gave his speech, He was mainly talking about livestock, and I was itching to, like, President, okay, now that you've created a livestock for ministry, can you please tell us how you protect the interest of farmers and what will happen to farmers? I didn't get much of that, to my disappointment. So I want to see government do more to protect the interest of the farmers as well, and to see what they can do to make sure that their occupation thrives. Because, like I said earlier, you can survive without stick. When I mean stick, I mean meat. S-T-E-A-K, stick. It also means meat. It's a synonym for meat or beef. You can survive without beef. Okay, let me just use meat, being, you know, a popular one that everybody can, so that you don't mix it together. You can survive without beef, but you can't survive without crops and vegetables, because you can only be a vegetarian. You can't say, oh, I only want to be eating beef. That means that you won't eat rice, because rice is planted. You won't eat beans. You won't eat tomato. You won't eat, you know, pepper. You won't eat coconut. Can you? No, you can't. But if you decide that, as people, you know, most likely in the Western world, we decide that, oh, we don't want to eat anything beef or fish, and they declare themselves vegetarians, they are surviving. In fact, they are stronger than some of us that eat chicken, beef, fish, and everything. So why won't the interest of farmers be protected? With the rising cost of foodstuff in the country, farmers' interests also need to be protected. So I believe that government has more intellectual resources than somebody like me, because I'm just an individual. So in the coming days, I just believe that government will be able to do something to protect the interest of the farmers too, not only the herders. The interest of the farmers as well should be protected, because you can survive with only crops, by eating crops. We have vegetarians. I can decide tomorrow now that I don't want to eat beef for the rest of my life. I don't want to eat fish. I don't want to eat anything that has blood, and I will survive. It doesn't stop me from growing old. But you can't say you won't eat crops. No, you must eat crops. So I think the Tinubu government should look into that and make sure that the interest of everybody is protected. Else, it will lead to chaos. And if greed, there is still greed on the part of the herders, if they still believe that they can have people's ancestral land, even if you create ranch, that's why I first asserted that the main thing that can curb these farmers herders clashes is lack of greed. If not, if you build ranches for them, some of them that are greedy will leave that ranch and go and eat another person's cassava on his farmland. Wahala will start. Wahala will start from there. Or can we have a situation whereby we have ranches in places that the herders are accepted, like, you know, this north, some part of middle belt, and we have a good network of train system that brings the meat, the cows and everything down here, so that they don't use leg. Because if you are carrying cow and you are making the cow to trek from Kano, from Sokoto, from Yola to Bayelsa, that cow self don't suffer now. The meat go dey tough, you know, go dey sweet, because the cow has used the better nutrients in his body to trek. So government solution to this farmer herders classes should be holistic, and government should make sure that the interests of farmers are protected. And anybody found wanting should face the law. Should face the law. Anybody found wanting should face the law. Well, it's been a wonderful time with you. At least we've been able to learn from each other today. Hopefully we'll do it again tomorrow. And like I said, if you come across this video and you're able to watch it to this extent, you are not here by accident. You are here to polythink with Omoshola Deji. So how do we polythink? You like, you comment, you share, and we take the discussion further to the comment section. So please like, share, subscribe, so that anytime I drop videos of analysis of politics and happenings in the polity, I'm a political scientist. I have a PhD in political science. So once I drop this analysis on politics, you can always, catch on, as they hot. As they hot. So keep a date with me. Hopefully we make this happen as much as we can, as many times as we can. By the grace of God. It's been a wonderful time with you. Thanks for allowing me into your space. Like I always say, you are mine and I'm yours. We polythink together. Have a great time. Thank you.